things I need of you, things you may not understand, and may not wish to do, but please do not make the same mistakes I did. My father, however, deserted me before I was born. I could claim the loss of my mother, and the letter I received after her funeral blinded me to what I had to do. It would be a lie. Human nature sealed my downfall. My name is Philip. If you are lucky, by the time you receive this, I will be dead. Fate wills, we all perish. Fictionate games.
Alors, salut tout le monde, ici Eiffel. On commence une nouvelle série, cette fois-ci avec un jeu d'horreur qui s'appelle Penumbra Overture. Qui est fait par les mêmes créateurs qui ont fait Épisode.
My story began in February, year 2000.
For my part in this allegory, I'm not going to make the same mistakes my father made. Howard vanished from my mother's life before I was even in it, so when he sent me a letter a few days after Mum's funeral, it was the first I'd ever heard from him. Pity he was dead. Writing from beyond the grave must be a genetic habit in my bloodline. His letter contained a key, instructions, pleas for forgiveness. I figured the dead don't have much use for absolution, so I turned to his prophetic passing, which he inexplicably expected to come any day. Clearly averse to explanations, my father preferred to leave directions to a bank on Mayfair I'd never even heard of. In that bank was a safety deposit box in his name, and myself as executor. Of course, I went, as he knew I would. I discovered that despite the evidence, he'd been legally declared dead almost 30 years ago, and so the old book and collection of notes I found had, in the eyes of the law, been mine all this time. My father's instructions were to burn the documents, raise no further questions. But that was his error. No man's immune to the shameful trappings of curiosity, and my humanity got the better of me. The university I taught at was world-renowned for two things: physics and linguistics. I represented the first, and the man who stood for the second was stumped by my recent acquisition. The book was indecipherable. The notes, however, showed a location somewhere in uninhabited northern Greenland. It took me almost a year to book the last flight I'd ever take. As I watched civilization disappear along with Heathrow, I realised my father had disappeared 3 decades ago, almost to the day, and I considered in turn what it was that I was leaving behind. We landed on a strip of ice a few feet wide, and within minutes I was pulling away on a chartered boat, beginning the 12-hour journey that would lead me into my past.
Toto. Quoi?
Jesus, my head. I can't believe I found that fine so bad. Although, looking around, maybe I didn't. What is this place? Okay, don't worry about me. Do you walk in this way?
J'ai pas set mes contrôles, pas sur mon contrôle. Ouais, en gros. Non, ce que je voulais dire, c'est pas ça. C'est comme change key mapping, ma touche control qui est le crouch, on va dire alt. C'est comme ça. Pourquoi j'arrête pas de me tromper comme ça? On est sur ma TV, je suis fucking idiot. ça que je voulais faire, mais bon.
Whatever I was descending into, it was 100 feet below ground, protected by 2 solid metal hedges, located in a remote, high-tech wilderness, buried beneath the snow. I didn't know what to expect, but it made me feel something I hadn't felt since I was a child. I'd never given such a big hug before, but I realized how entire society is a network of safety nets, emergency services at the end of the front line, healthy and safety in the workplace, friends and family, others, all there if something goes wrong. Part of a carefully designed structure to prevent all but the most mundane of emotions. Once again, I felt like I didn't want to since school. So, by closing all of the kids, anyone that might help me, friends, parents, teachers, were too scared or too far away.
Bon. J'ai fait une note juste pour tout ça. They could be any living thing heroic stuff like during fairy tales. I'm not taking any chances. If I face off against anything down here, I won't last a second. Caution is still my defenses. If anyone or anything hears me, I'd be best off staying on and out of sight until I know whether or not it's not a threat. Crouching guard for instance, if that will give me a chance to hide in the shadows. I'll know I've got it right because of the blue tilt to my vision. Plus, I should be quiet that I know that I won't be real unless something's right on top of me. And remember to shut off the light source too. Ok, donc nous on est là. Stick c'est chiant. Ok, donc quand il s'est éteint en bleu, c'est parce qu'on est là. Là, c'est qu'on s'en va vers le office. Safe comme place. C'est bon. On est bien parti. On est bien parti, mes amis. Ici, on a une dactylo. Très utile, très utile. Je suis sûr que ça va nous aider beaucoup. On finit les serveurs pour le fun. Si jamais c'est quoi, on peut tomber. Yo. Oh. Oh, du beef jerky. On se casse la soirée. Oh.
Painkiller.
Oh, it's locked. I need a key.
August 1982, 1945. Common bunker, emergency airstrip Zulu. Weekly report. Another unremarkable week in Greenland. Regular supply shipment received. Standard emergency drills carried out. Routine runway mid-downs completed. I have ordered mid-downs to be carried out twice weekly from here on in due to increased snowfall. The one-winded figure is no closer concerned back in London. The Germans haven't extended the front line by 4,000 miles. 2 of my men were caught manufacturing cherry bombs in Overture Armory and succeeded in blowing up a couple of fakers. I take partial responsibility for this, and that I allowed them access to the demolitions manual we came and solved on. And I'm sure that's where they're like the ingredients. As a precautionary measure, I have now locked up the manual on the chest in my office. It will keep the camera version at all times.
Okay. C'est tout. Ah, encore.
Copenhagen bus, Monday, 7 August 1992. Cybertron deposits in the water of Denmark. Researchers at the University of Copenhagen have suggested that maritime canoes naturally subject to the rock may be the cause of high suicide rates in the Greenland Valley. The university, which has recently been in contact with cities occupied by the communities, has become campus to meet workers of the West Germany about the past year. It discovered that even taken into account the suicide rate, cities for the past 100 years were abnormally high, at 46 deaths per 100,000 populace compared to the national average of 29. On further investigation, experts diagnose in many of the minors symptoms in common with earlier stage of paranoid schizophrenia. This has prompted researchers to hypothesize that natural deposit of lysergic acid, a pH formula recently discovered to have hallucinogenic properties, may be presented in the rats.
C'est dit. Bon. Ensuite, on a une belle petite clé ici. Ça, c'est Baxtrine. Je suis intrigué. Et ça aussi, je me demande bien c'est quoi. Ça, les as-tu fouillé? Je m'en souviens déjà. Oh non, c'est clair qu'on n'avait pas fouillé. Ça me semble être... je pense que c'est le truc qui ne sert à être sauvegardé, ça. D'après vous, qu'est-ce que c'est?
A man, a known man, clutching something unseen. He is trained, and yet he is no stranger. Never seen before, still I know. This man before me is Howard. I call him father. What the hell? What just happened? I don't know if that was such a good idea.
D'après moi, c'est vraiment... Ouais, c'est la sauvegarde. Minuit 46. C'est bien l'heure qu'il est en ce moment. Donc, d'après moi, on a réussi. Maintenant. Non, en fait, je sais ce que je vais faire. Je vais mettre fin à l'épisode par la compte dans un endroit safe. Donc, c'est ça. On se revoit bientôt tout le monde pour la suite. Épisode 2 de Penumbra. Au revoir.